Hello, everyone. Thank you for unmuting me. So my name is Joyce. I work at PwC. I used to work at PwC 12 years ago. I work at, oh my God. So I work at WeWeb. I'm in charge of developer relationships. So I do a bunch of tutorials and community. And today I'm joined by Mathieu, who does work at PwC currently, and Florian, the Chief Product Officer of WeWeb. And I actually
Hello, everyone.
just completed this beautiful slide with... I forgot to change your name. I remembered to change your title. So that's Mathieu. So if you look for Xavier, it won't be the same person. So we're off to a flying start. And so I'm just going to
That's actually mine.
Yeah, that's yours. So WeWeb and PwC, just to give you a quick introduction in case you don't know them, PwC is, I think, still the #1 auditing firm in the world. They do also consulting. A lot of their big subject is audit, security, and compliance. And WeWeb is a no-code tool that allows you to develop the visual interfaces of web applications. So let's get started with how did you two meet? How did you come to work together?
So basically at PwC we had a real need for developing apps quickly, efficiently, and without too much of thinking about compliance. So no-code, low-code was really something we needed. We had a few interviews with different providers for this. And I think the main argument was we were deeply in need of having someone that can accompany us to kickstart the thing. One of our needs was to be self-hosted, and that was a no-brainer for us in terms of security. And I think during the presentation we trusted you guys to be accompanied by you. So yeah, basically we started with WeWeb. We picked back, and now 1 year after we are launching, I don't know, 8 applications, maybe 6. Yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I think it's 8. Yeah. But, I guess you were looking for many no-code tools, and I think the credit goes to Contournement, if I remember well.
I don't know if Alexis or Erwan are in the room.
I think they talked about us to you, and then this is how we met.
Okay.
If I remember well, with uni maybe.
Yeah. I think he's the one who took you in to present WeWeb.
And why did you need low-code or no-code? Why not have developers? Because you have a huge security and compliance issue, so why not own the entire process and not rely on any third party?
I think we have a very tedious compliance journey because, I mean, audit firm, so yeah, basically security needs.
Yeah, I mean, it's your job. It's not a criticism. It's literally your job.
Yeah, but to start it, each and every time for each and every application from the start, security-wise, the code review, the penetration tests, it's way easier to have some sort of trunk with every step of the compliance pre-approved. So yeah, that was the aim of the no-code.
Yeah, super interesting. So instead, it just smoothened the process. You do it once, and then
and once everyone in the firm, I mean, the infrastructure team, the IT security team already know all your stack. Basically, it's easier for them to let it go and let you develop in 3 weeks and make it compliant right away.
All right, so the initial start time may take a bit longer, but then you can repeat it.
It took a way more time than we expected in terms of deployment, in terms of compliance, contextualization with legal and stuff. But yeah, we are. It's been a year. We're almost at the end of the journey regarding the compliance, and I can witness right now that an application developed in 4 weeks can almost get compliant in the same amount of time, and it's not something usual for us.
And how did that impact WeWeb, Florian? Did you as a no-code tool? Like, did it help you? Did it frustrate you? What did it do for you?
At first, it was a challenge, really. When we start to talk, we thought it could be quick, but in the end, the full stack was difficult to ship. So it's not only WeWeb; it's also, if I can talk about the stack, but you also use Supabase in a self-hosted.
Supabase, for those who don't know, is a no-code backend.
So WeWeb is just the front end part. So this part we managed to make it easy. I mean, for the self-hosting, to create the API. So with some scripts you could deploy easily, and then we had to kind of have a stable stack with Supabase, self-hosted, and so you could have many different instances in an environment where you don't have internet. So in a really secure environment. And this was the challenge. So we worked a lot with your infrastructure team, and then when you manage to have something stable, then, like you said, you can quickly ship multiple applications and ship a lot faster. So yes, at first it was a challenge, but I guess now we have the processes and the trust. So now it's a nice journey.
It was worth it.
And you guys had to go through the complaints of the third party too, regarding your infrastructure, all your IT, and that was a bit of pain, but I think it's some sort of training for you for working with big corporate firms.
Well, it forced you to improve the product to make it stable and without vulnerabilities. Sorry, I cannot say, but without any leaks.
Yeah, so it actually helps you improve the product as well, which is a good thing. And did you have to talk to Supabase? Like, how did that work? Having a front and a back. Like, how did you handle that? Like, three-party relationship.
I guess you can start.
It hasn't been easy actually, because you guys are responsible for the front part, so that was actually not the hard point for us. It was not very obvious to talk to Supabase at first because we had no contract with them. You guys wanted to work with us. Supabase didn't need us, so not the same dynamic. But mostly, I've got a super lead for architecture who's a big geek, and he's been really helpful to sort out things and make it work. I'm sure this won't be up if he hadn't spent nights work things out, so thanks. And yeah, so we were a bit of figuring out by ourselves for the Supabase part. Florian has been helpful regarding other aspects around the data, migrating from a version from an app to another, sort of things, but infrastructure-wise, it's our problem, so we have to deal with it ourselves.
Very cool. Did people inside PwC oppose no code? Like, did you experience any resistance inside the organization, or is it mostly accepted that you want to go that way?
I thought that would be an issue, but it was not actually, because they are business-centric in the end. So when you tell them, this is your need, oh, okay, that's actually quite easy to implement because it's a crude app. So yeah, let's make that 3 screen you need, and let's have a little back database, and everything is going to be okay. It's easy to convince people that no code is will be an enabler to make things quicker. So not really any sort of resistance once the stack is explained, mostly to IT security and infrastructure. But I guess there's a contract first. There's the compliance for third party too. And Supabase is open source for the back part. So that was also something reassuring, I guess. So no really resistance. And I can see now it's pretty makes things easier, and they are more secure knowing the stack. And it's not something very pleasant to do, the complaints journey, but it's way more easy now than it was.
Okay, cool. Yeah, maybe something we didn't say as an introduction that might be helpful is to know is that PwC actually is developing their own app store. So the apps that they develop with the WeWeb Superbase stack is then made available to clients as SaaS products. So it's when you say they're business oriented, I guess that's what you mean.
Definitely. We actually developed 2,000 of apps with WeWeb assets. This is an example of an app used internally for our needs, but also we have products, apps intended for clients of PwC to use. And yeah, so the business is very interested in a quick delivery process.
And one of the questions that someone asked me at the WeWeb stand earlier is how long did it take you to build this? And I did not have the answer because I did not build it. I would be curious to know, maybe you can start by saying how long it took you, and maybe Florian afterwards you can explain how WeWeb and PwC collaborated at the beginning.
So this is actually the first app I made, so it's a bit, I would be lying if I said it took me like 4 weeks, because it was my upskilling exercise actually. It's been 8 months, a year maybe. I've been working on this continuously, days after days. But the hard part of the application, I think, in 3 months was okay to start to use.
All right, cool. And do you wanna, because that's one of the apps, and just to give a bit of context, Mathieu does have some developer experience, and there are other apps that were built without Mathieu, because he can't do everything. Maybe Florian can talk about those.
The interesting thing is that you created a team, a design team, with the product studio. And so first, when we start to collaborate, you had many designs and many applications in mind to start to work with your different teams. And so we the first application we were involved. We wanted it to be a success, so we helped you to build it. We started it, and then you started to learn how to edit it. And after that, as it was a success, you wanted to build many more applications at once. So at that moment, we decided to onboard an agency to help us. That's named Theodo. So if you want to talk to them, they are here. And so we onboard them. And so right now you have internal teams in PwC shipping applications themselves, and other applications slightly more complex that are done with the help of Theodo so it could be shipped fast. So this is a collaboration with many different people, and depending on the application that needs to be done, the complexity of it, and the number of people we have together to make it work, we have different level of collaboration.
And you mentioned this this application, so it has been live for about 6 months. After 2-3 months, it was like you had the MVP. Let's say it was okay. Like, do you have any visibility about the other apps or other apps you've built, or other apps that others have built at PwC, in terms of like how long does it take on average, like to build and then to iterate, and how? Maybe tell us about that process of iterating. If there are additional security and compliance checks or anything like that.
Yeah, sure. So basically, what we can see is when it's a need from the business to build an application, usually we can develop it with 4 to 6 weeks. So that's usually the time it took you guys in WeWeb to develop for us, or Theodo. And for the compliance journey, I mean, deploying, securing, testing, it takes almost the same time. So usually I say it takes a month to make it compliant, now that we have every steps for the whole process. So yeah, basically you one time for dev, one day for dev is 1 day for compliance. That's my rough estimate when I have to do that.
You mentioned self-hosting. You mentioned Supabase being open source. Are there any other criteria that you looked for in no-code tools when you evaluated no-code, low-code? Like, what did you look for in addition to self-hosting and
Sexy interface. No, but that's part of it actually.
I actually really like Superbase's interface. It is sexy.
Very.
Yeah.
It is. I when you used to work with PHP MyAdmin to deal with databases, I mean Superbase is quite sexy. So yeah, but even for WeWeb, we had a previous vendor in PwC worldwide, which is Mendex, and so I tried before meeting them, before meeting you, and I have to admit that your studio is sexier, easier to use, in my opinion. I might be biased now that I've been using it for a year, but yeah. So this and your ability to help us deal with everything. I mean, Florian has been upscaling me 2 hours by week to get up to my comprehension of the studio now. So it's that what we looked for also, to be enabled, to be able to use the technology and not being stuck in some sort of contractual relationship where you are the guys able to develop. And we are not at a point in PwC where citizenship development is a thing. Though I want to have a complete team, I want it to be easy for people having a little bit of knowledge of development to use this. And I'm also an example of a developer who's been coding for 10 years, but who is really enjoying working with a no-code product. And it has nothing to do with how easy the compliance is because of it. It's just visual development is still development, and this is maybe something we don't say enough, actually.
And I'd be curious to have your thoughts, both of your thoughts on the limits of no-code, because Florian used to be a developer, you used to be a developer, I mean, you both write code. What are the limits of no-code? Like, we talked about the advantages, but what are the disadvantages? Do you want to start, Florian, maybe?
Yes, I can. Well, it depends on the tool you choose, basically. So, some no-code tool are really opinionated, so you can ship fast, but you won't be able to customize everything. So it depends on what you want, basically. If you use WeWeb, as for this example, you can really do a lot of design things, like you can do in Webflow, basically, but you can also code inside. So we dislike to separate those worlds, really, and we prefer visual programming, like you said, instead of no code, because you do code sometime, and you were talking about Michel who is a developer, and he can create his own component and upload those components. All the elements you drag and drop in WeWeb are open source. You can take it and make it your own, upload it to the dashboard, and then basically create your own components that you can use then in no code. So we still have some limits, of course. When the closer you are to the machine, you can, of course, improve a lot the performances. So you have to trust us to improve the product, so it can be you can have better performances, and so it could follow also the improvement you can have with Vue.js or React sometimes. So when you do it yourself, you can do that yourself too. But this is also a value you have in the no-code tools. They are doing that for you. So I guess to completely answer your question, sorry. So you do have limits. You need to know them, and the most important thing, I think, is not the limits, is the ownership. So of what you are doing. For some tools, you won't own the application. And with WeWeb, for example, and other tools where you can export the code, this is yours basically. You can host it. You can you own that code. So the visual coding platform is just like visual code when you code. It's just another layer of abstraction to ship faster and code faster. So so you do have limits,
but you can move them.
Yes, exactly.
And we are actually, because at the moment when it's a co-construction. When I use WeWeb, I try to use it as it is intended. So no code, like using actions and not relying on JavaScript custom code all the time. And every time I have to, I try to log what I'm doing with custom code, or find another way around using the internal architecture of the product. And when I do have a use case that's not available to me using no-code bricks in WeWeb Studio, I'm talking about it with Florian, and we are trying to develop new approach to figure things out, to do things better, but with the same philosophy of the tool, the no-code philosophy. Limits, we've got some, but I mean, every product I use those sort of things, dataviz, plugins and stuff. We need to improve this, and we need to build our own stack of
components, of the visual elements that are custom.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think it's important to, because of course we're talking about WeWeb because that's what we know best, but there are more and more tools who do that. There are a lot of Supabase is open source, and there are more and more tools that allow you to export the code, or in the case of databases and backends, that allow you to host that data where you want to. So, I mean, you have a lot of people to talk to and investigate. Florian, what are the pros and cons of working with a huge customer like PwC? Enjoy.
Okay, I'll start with the cons. It takes time. It takes time because all companies like PwC have their own rules and also their own way of working really with partners. So you need to understand how you need to work. So it takes time, and then I guess it takes time to build on trust because as you know that you're gonna need to work on contracts, on compliance, and even if you have a strong conviction on the stack, on the tool you need to choose, you know that you need to have a strong conviction. So it's the same for us as an editor. When we work with a corporate, we need to know if they are willing to spend that time. So it's an investment. So this is the cons because you need to get involved on that. But after that, as you spend all that time, and I spent a lot of time with you, it was a nice way to improve the product too, to improve the UI, to improve how we could ship. We built this API to deploy the application with some scripts so it could be easy when you click publish to deploy the application. So in the end, it's an investment, but it was it.
In terms of security and compliance, can you describe a little bit what you went through as a product, as an editor?
Yeah. So you can export just the front-end application, so it's called export. So this is a Vue.js application, and for that one, we just had to make sure that all the packages that are used are validated by the IT team. And the other one is, as you can have private pages, and those pages are really private, you need to also deploy a web server to manage that privacy, and some backend plugins also into the infrastructure. And this self-hosting server also needs to be compliant, and so we need to make sure on a regular basis that the packages are still up to date with the last version, and so we had to have an internal process to make sure of that, and to have some remediation. I think this is how we say that, to make sure we could make those fixes in time.
And is that specific to PwC and the compliance that they request, or is that something that you do for like everyone? Is it? How does that work?
We do it for everyone, but PwC are the let's say the most demanding.
Cool. I'd like to open to as many questions as possible. So, can maybe you tell us about, to like close this, like what your future plans are at PwC to like continue the development of applications? What's the vision for?
Well, we have a team who's called the Product Studio, whose role is to get all the needs from every business in the firm and try to make a prototype of an app. So this is a flow of new ideas and new projects to come. So I'm sure this flow will continuously provide new ideas of new apps. And also, there's one thing I'll still do, because I've been doing this for 10 years. Sorry, it's to witness myself struggles inside processes. This was one. I've got plenty. There's almost, I think, 3,000 new joiners per year at PwC France, interns stuff. So we need a CRM to handle those and check if they have a badge, if they have a computer, if everything is in order for them to join. This is something I want to develop, so maybe that will take place this year. We are working on many different projects because we have all the needs in the world. we need formatized curriculum vitae for consultants, so that's one app I'm working on right now. And yeah, I'm pretty sure if you ask me that question in 3 months, I will have like 10 more projects, but maybe I will have also 10 more developers to work with me, so I'll try and ship all those applications fast.
And there's just mentioning like a CRM for that number of new joiners and people leaving as well. Like, so the backend will be Supabase, or like you're not contemplating like using your custom backend, or?
Right now, I'm using Supabase with ease and enjoyment.
Yes.
We've been talking to Xano too, because there's one of the newer usual stack. If we skipped this provider at first, it was because they were unable to self-host at the moment. A year ago, now they are not. So we are thinking about maybe use them for another application, see how it goes. So yeah,
still no code.
Still no code, obviously, and no code is the answer to bad processes. I'm just fed up of having people work with a Google Sheet open to 200 people in read mode. So let's not do that. Let's provide quick apps to have cleaner process around this. More transparency, more access roles. This is easy to provide with a stack like WeWeb. It's fast to ship. It will be fast to make compliant. So let's do this because we can.
Awesome. How about you, Florian, for WeWeb? What's coming next? What's the future?
You want to know the secrets?
Trying to get the roadmap out of him.
Okay, well, I can. Well, we are going to work a lot on the libraries, so the ability for you to share all the elements you work on, the workflows and everything, to share between projects, and after that to share into a marketplace. So it's for November, and also to be able to create your own components in no code and not by coding like you can do right now. So it's going to be extremely useful to basically industrialize all your work, so you won't do the same thing twice. So this is really important for us, and to be able to share your work also to anyone in your team or elsewhere. And then for, I guess, early next year, we are going to be focused on mobile features.
Ooh.
So basically to provide the full support of PWA and all that you can do with PWA.
Sorry, I have one last question, because before turning to you, but For the marketplace, there is a security issue, no? There are some security challenges. How, do you know already how you're gonna, with the marketplace, if you have people, like third-party people, it will be like the first time that people who are not WeWeb are
some
building.
of the elements and the plugins will be certified by us. Some libraries will be certified, and after that, you're gonna have to trust who will release the libraries and like many marketplaces available in other tools.
Yeah, so similar to what WordPress had with their extensions.
Yeah, exactly.
When you choose a library as a developer. Right, cool. Okay, questions. We've got one over there, and the microphone is coming. And thank you very much, by the way.
We can't hear you.
Test. Okay, no, it works. All right, thank you for your talk. As WeWeb, on one hand, you have very big clients such as PwC, who perhaps want a lot of security checks, compliance things to be fixed. On the other hand, you have startups who want like state-of-the-art features. What concrete steps do you kind of recommend for product owners to be able to kind of prioritize both such different groups?
That's a very good question. So my advice would be to start small. So just pick one corporate, only one, and try to build with that one. And after that, you will be able to scale properly. But it depends on your business also. If your business is to work with corporates really soon, so you're going to need certifications and many things depending on what you are providing. For us, it was easier than for Xano, for example, because we are a front-end builder, so the front-end don't manage data. So it was easier for us to get involved quickly with corporate and to build the trust and ship. But if you manage some data and some really let's say important business matter, it could be really hard to work with those kind of companies. So first, I think depending on you need to decide really early what you want to do, and then start small, but make sure that it's working.
Does that answer?
That's okay.
Not really.
You can rephrase if you.
How do you continue to manage it? You have like two different product owners, one for small, one for big companies, or?
Yeah. So for small, actually, it's for I think with no code, and I'll take this one just because I'm in charge of like education. So for example, at WeWeb, and I know other tools do it, we insist a lot on education, and we have like a course series dedicated on security to address the fact that a lot of no-coders do not have a programming background and might not know how the backend interacts with the front end, and might not know that even if you don't see the data on the page, it does not mean that the data is not here. It may actually be in your browser. So the way we address that is through education, so through video tutorial courses, articles, and talks like this. I mean, this was more of a use case, but we had a talk last year at the API Days with exact step-by-steps on how to secure your backend. We gave a lot of examples with Xano, and you know how that works, and kind of educating no-coders to show them how to hack their own apps so that other people can't hack them. Yes, we have a question there.
Check, check. Thank you, guys. That was really interesting and insightful to hear about something, a process that tends to be behind a curtain. So thank you. A question on the PwC side. So when it comes to the maintenance and scaling of your applications, you mentioned potentially bring on developers. What does that look like? Do you think that will permanently be outsourced to something like agencies, or do you think it will be internal? You'll bring in developers, and if you are to bring in developers, do you think that will be predominantly people that are solely focused on WeWeb and Supabase, or do you actually think it might be someone who is, you know, potentially a consultant and you train them up on those tools? What does that look like?
Yeah. So right now the strategy we have is to build a team inside of PwC of mixed background developers, also designers, because, well, we like clean things too. But I think agency will always be something we need because there's peaks in the activity during the year. Maybe the spring, the audit firm will be a bit busy, so it might be lighter for us. But I'm sure fall will systematically be the rise of new projects. So Theodo there, WeWeb as an agency, will always be some sort of strategy to improve our capabilities to deploy and to develop and deploy. So that's one thing. But yeah, my ambition is to have a growing team to be able to address all the new needs of new application in the firm. And I'm not sure we are ready, quite ready now for citizen dev inside PwC. Maybe that will something that it will rise in future days. But my ambition for next year will be, we have sprints of 5 days to develop some sort of prototype right now. Right now, designers are working with Figma. Next spring, I'm pretty sure we will have design systems, we will have components. So there will be a big library of what PwC need to build a crude app, basically. So maybe in 7 days, now we can build a prototype using WeWeb and not Figma. So the business can start displaying it, using screens. That's my ambition. And I think it's pretty doable.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Thank you for your return of experience. I was interested about the rationale about the integration of open source versus other databases, because I'm into the healthcare domain. We have a lot of security and compliance to fulfill. I wanted to understand what was the rationale and how Theodo or WeWeb bring you the expertise to bring to choose, Supabase versus Sano or other, just to understand, because security and compliance are very difficult to assess. Yeah.
So as I was telling, it was no-brainer a year ago because Sano was not able to be self-hosted. So WeWeb has, I don't know, 12 maybe data sources right now, something like that.
Infinity, we have REST API.
Clearly, but fully integrated, we have a few partners. And Supabase was one WeWeb already knew, working with, and was self-hostable. So we had basically one choice. It's pretty cool because it's open source. So yeah, it was easier for us to stamp as compliant, and we had some sort of ability to judge what brick was in use for us in the Supabase stack. There's Conch for authentication, there's PostgREST for APIs and stuff. So we had some sort of ability to handle each brick individually. So that was, I think, something we discovered on the way, but
yeah, especially to manage authentication. I mean, with your identity provider, so it was custom dev with this backend. So this was the hard part, basically. It's not because it's open source that it will be easy. It's not true, because it needs to self-host and it's part of their business too. So yes, for the choice, because we had this plugin and it was also a nice match with your skills. And the features the Supabase was providing, it was enough for what they
if
were
I may
demanding.
reformulate some part of the question, I wanted to understand why the self-hosting choice
no-brainer,
was
security.
made, but why? Regarding
We want to
security
be
compliance.
in total ownership of all the data when in prod. So it was a total no-go to pick a stack with a SaaS hosting solution.
that's because they are dealing with the data of their client, and as it is
Regulatory.
yes, exactly. They need to own everything.
Okay. And because you have the
place.
resources to maintain.
Yeah, yeah. My team is called the
because it's,
Digital Factory, and we have a DevOps capacity inside of the team.
Because
So
you
yeah,
need the
we have
resources.
the ambition of self-host it, and we have the mean of doing it using Kubernetes if you're interested in that. But I won't go further than that because it's not my expertise.
But so ownership is not security, in fact. If I may, security doesn't mean ownership. I mean, because for me, if you have SaaS products that fulfill,
True.
that's why
It
I
was a
wanted to-
prerequisite from our IT security team,
Okay.
if I can put it like that.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi guys, my name is Michael. Just to clarify, you mentioned that you have 10 years of development experience. So at PwC, were you already developing apps for clients but just not using no code? Or is this something that no code has enabled you to do as like a value add?
I've been with PwC for 3 years now. It's been a year within the Digital Factory. I've been developing other things using Python mostly. But the years before, I was more of a data analyst, so using Tableau software and Power BI. My development background was in my previous firm, which is the SAMU Social de Paris, and I used to work with PHP and MySQL. So yeah, it was. I've been brought back to development for a year now. It's been a pleasure to find PostgreSQL, because I used to work with MySQL and discover row-level securities, triggers and stuff. I was happy to find that back. So both, I guess. I was a developer, and no-code has been enabling me to develop apps for my firm now.
And a follow-up, if you don't mind, which is back when you're using PHP, or like some of the examples you said, some maybe smaller businesses just have a Google spreadsheet that they dump everything into. What are some of the internal discussions that you have as a team to make the switch to no code? You mentioned, like, of course, the compliance piece of it, which of course is more like the auditing process. But what discussions do you have to say what we're doing now isn't as scalable as we would like it to be? And what is your research process for finding a tool like WeWeb?
Okay, so multiple layers.
It's loaded.
Regarding the needs and how we get it and transform them into applications, there's the team I talked to you about, which is the product studio inside of PwC, who's sa raison d'être. The way it works is its purpose is to witness those needs and solidify them into a prototype. So that's one source. Also, me as a user, sometimes I use a spreadsheet and I say, this can't go like much further. We have to do something better. And I think no code and the way we use it to make quick apps is also giving confidence to users that they've been using spreadsheet for their whole life because they have no other solution. And now we can tell them we can develop something in a month. They might end up trusting us building new tools, because I don't remember, maybe you remember when you were in PwC, but every project takes 2 years at most when you need to do something. So this is a big change, actually, to be able to deliver quickly apps. And I forgot the other part of the question, sorry.
That was most of it. I was just asking like the researching part, so like choosing WeWeb. I know the back-end discussion was, it's easier because WeWeb, it's mostly Xano or Supabase for the most part. But
picking WeWeb out of the other contestants was purely their ability to demonstrate they could take us from where we were, like big noobs, and assure that a year after we were able to deploy quickly new applications. We needed help. We needed to be certain that the infrastructure was okay, that we won't have too much major problems.
If I may add, I think what some key points was the learning curve and the ability to train them to build application. The second one was the ability to follow their corporate design rules, because this one is a bit different because it's an internal app, but the other one needs to really follow the design corporate rules. So they had to choose a tool where they could build something like this. And the third one was the self-hosting part. So they could own the application, and so they could self-host everything. And so they asked the people who were searching, ask into some communities, and this is how we met.
That's perfect.
There's a
Thank
question over there.
Thank you. Hi guys, thanks for the talk. Super interesting, insightful. Talking about the apps, are they client-facing? I didn't get it, or are just internal tools that you build within? Both of them.
This one is internal, but we've got almost 3 applications running facing clients right now.
Okay.
So the app store is for external clients. Yeah.
PwC store.
Sorry,
Right.
yeah, because you're in my. But I saw there's a question.
Is it PwC France or just PwC worldwide?
France and Maghreb.
Okay, thanks.
And thank you. It was an amazing discussion. If WeWeb is currently being used in France and Maghreb, and you mentioned earlier on that globally PwC favors Mendix. How is...
Not globally, a few other territories.
Oh, okay. So could you tell us a bit about the sort of global growth of no-code across PwC internationally, and also a little bit about what you've experienced when you've been encouraging clients to start using no-code as well, and how they tend to respond to that message?
I'm not sure I can give you the global picture for PwC, actually. I think France is not the first country to have this need for no-code and quick delivery. In the firm, I was telling you about Mendix, so there's other country using other stacks. There's Power Automate rising too, so basically everyone needs to be able to deliver fast, and GPT told us that we could, so let's basically. Regarding the second part of the question, excuse me.
Yes, so they're not encouraged. So sorry.
We do not really encourage clients to use no-code development right now. We are using no-code to provide clients with solutions, new apps, but it's mainly based on our internal knowledge of what they need, and no-code is just some quick way to provide that.
So the clients, I think, don't even need to know what technology you're using.
Yep.
They're just interested in
They
what
do
you're
not.
delivering.
They use a web app, and they have no clue if it's been developed with WeWeb.
It just needs to work.
And it does.
I think we need to leave it at that, but we do. But we're around, and tonight after the event, WeWeb and Xano are co-hosting a meetup at Petit Bain on the rooftop. So if you want to join us, we'll be there. And in the meantime, we're of course available for all your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.